Thank you very much. This is a fantastic audience. Great previous session, so I should have thought of that. I should have had a co-presenter. But unfortunately, you guys are left with me. So let me introduce myself. My name is Avi Nayak. I'm a product manager and product marketing manager from Pure Storage, and my focus is on what we call the next generation new stack of applications. That includes OpenStack, Kubernetes, public cloud, private cloud, etc. So I've been at Pure for 3 years now, and prior to that I was at VMware. I was actually at VMware when OpenStack became a thing, right? When they first announced OpenStack, and everybody at VMware was like, won't last, right? It'll never make it. So it's amazing to see that, about 5.5 years down the line, that it did in fact make it and is growing stronger by the day. So I'm going to start off by just giving you a brief introduction about Pure Storage, what we do, talk about some of the things we're seeing from customers when we talk to them about cloud, about their next generation data centers, our perspective, and some of the things that we're doing with the community and other vendors around OpenStack. So we were founded in about 2009, if I could get this thing to work. There we go, I'll just use that. So we were founded in about 2009 with one mission: kill spinning disk. So spinning disk is 1970s technology. It hasn't really evolved since then, and if something doesn't evolve, it has to be replaced. So we believe that it belongs in the realm of exhibits in a museum, old war stories from crusty storage admins, and not in the data center anymore. So what we set about doing was building a modern storage platform based on Flash, software-based, using Flash as the media. Our design principles were very simple. We have one design principle: keep it simple, keep everything simple. Whether it is operating the storage environment or how you buy from us, how you maintain the storage array, how you upgrade the storage array. I've only got 20 minutes, so I'm not going to go too much into the details of everything that we do. Please stop by our booth, and we'll be happy to go into great details about it. We're really pioneers in the AFA space, so we have a number of firsts. We were the first AFA to have inline deduplication compression. We were the first to have always-on encryption, and a number of other things. We also recently announced a new product in February for unstructured data. So we have two products: the all-flash FlashArray M, which is a block-based device, and FlashBlade, which is for unstructured data, currently supporting NFS with a roadmap to support multiple other protocols. So when we talk to customers about cloud, it's become increasingly clear that there are going to be a couple of people we're going all public. There are going to be a couple of people saying that, no, I'm going to be only staying in my own data center, I'm going to build a private cloud. But the vast majority of folks are saying that we're going to have a mix, right? Horses for courses. If it makes sense to run my application in the public cloud, I'm going to use the public cloud. If it makes sense to keep it in-house for development purposes, I'm going to keep it in-house. There's also going to be a proliferation of people who are saying, applications is not my core competency, I'm going to go SaaS. So when you have that mix, you have a couple of core tenets that people always come back to when they say cloud. They're saying that I want automation, I want self-service, I want reliability, and I want the tool sets to basically help me run my business better, to keep my core competency. So one of the most important things somebody ever told me about doing anything is make sure you keep the main thing. So the cloud, we're increasingly figuring out is that people want to keep their core competencies, doing the main thing. But what we also find when talking to customers is that there are a couple of standard things that people expect from any cloud, whether it be private, public, SaaS, etc. Right? They want to reduce their operational OpEx spend through automation, self-service, etc. They want to reduce their CapEx spend by using technologies like virtualization, containers, Kubernetes, etc. From a core hardware perspective, we're also seeing this shift towards using all flash, because all flash gives them the performance that they need to maintain the SLAs, gives them the efficiency that they need, and it provides an ideal hardware platform for consolidation. So here's a survey of global CIOs on what their most important imperatives are over the next couple of years. So it's interesting to look at this and imagine this survey being done 10 years ago, where it was mostly all about cost, right? I need to cut down the cost of my operations. I need to basically deploy my servers, my data center more effectively, more cheaply. So what has changed is the IT organization has evolved to being a partner to the business, an enabler to the business, rather than just being a cost center. And this is why people are looking at the cloud. And it's interesting to look at the top three, right? So improve customer experience, improve operational efficiency, transform your existing business. This maps very well to why OpenStack was created, why that framework fits perfectly into a private cloud-like environment. Because if you look at OpenStack, what OpenStack really does for enterprises and service providers is helps them accelerate their business, delivers that IT as a service model to self-service and automation, improves business results by making people more effective, making them more productive. So OpenStack is viewed as a leader in the private cloud space. Kubernetes is some may say complementary, some may say competitive, but OpenStack is really the one that comes to mind when people talk about building a private cloud, specifically when you're talking about open source. And it's interesting as we talk to customers, particularly large customers, how open source has really, really taken off within the enterprise, right? People are no longer poking it with a stick from 10 feet away. They're adopting it. But what has changed is they're expecting the software to be free. They're going to pay for maintenance, support, et cetera, and professional services. And OpenStack fits beautifully into that model, particularly because of the vibrant community that it has. Right? People are active in the community, they're contributing code, they're fixing bugs, et cetera. Strong adoption we've seen, so we've got probably about 50 customers who are using OpenStack on Pure Storage, mostly in North America, but we're seeing adoption in Europe and Australia as well, in APJ. What's also interesting to note is how OpenStack has gone from being just the science project which you use in your development or QA environments to production environments, right? And this is across use cases, across verticals, et cetera. So what this sort of tells us is OpenStack is no longer a toy, it's no longer a science project. It is something that people are running their business on. But OpenStack is not easy, right? So this is a survey that was done of OpenStack users on how many people are going to promote OpenStack versus how many people are passive about it versus they're detractors. They're saying that don't use OpenStack to use OpenStack for everything, right? So if you've deployed OpenStack, you'll know that it's not the simplest thing in the world to deploy, right? But it's getting better. One of the core problems with OpenStack is the underlying infrastructure. You have to run it on something. And most of the times, the problems with OpenStack are storage related. So of those 50 customers that we talked to, I would say 35 of them were delayed in their OpenStack deployments primarily because they couldn't get their storage to work properly underneath it, right? So we believe that OpenStack on Flash will solve a lot of these problems, whether they be performance related. So if you have end users complaining about the applications not being responsive, et cetera, we believe that Flash, just because it is Flash, it's fast, right? That's table stakes, will solve those problems. But beyond just the performance aspect, we believe that Flash, because of the simplicity, because of the different software that is written specifically for Splash Media, will enable you to scale your applications better, will give you higher application availability and disruptive economics. So believe it or not, most Flash arrays today are cheaper than disk-based arrays. This is because of deduplication, compression algorithms, et cetera, which essentially bring the cost of Flash at or below the cost of spinning disk. So it really, really doesn't make sense to buy another spinning disk drive for your data center ever again. So here's a typical OpenStack deployment with white box systems, right? This might be familiar to a lot of you. We have like these 2U rack servers, pizza boxes, which you can then designate as this is my storage node, this is my compute node, this is my server, whatever, right? So this is well and good when you get started, right, if it's a small deployment. So this is mapped to, of course, the OpenStack orchestration framework. But the problem with this approach is really it's complex, it doesn't scale very well, and from an operational perspective, it's a nightmare to manage. So what a lot of storage vendors have done is basically said that use specialized hardware for compute and for storage. We will basically integrate with the OpenStack framework and provide additional data services beyond what is just provided by Cinder. For example, deduplication. For example, encryption at rest, et cetera. And this is where really storage vendors can provide value, competing against each other to basically innovate beyond what is just being done at the core OpenStack foundation. So for example, this is our flash array M. We were able to provide 330,000 IOPS at sub-millisecond latency. And we're going to continue to innovate on this so that we try and make the core OpenStack source code better through data services. So just a little bit about what we do for the OpenStack community, right? So we have our own storage Cinder driver. We have a Python SDK toolkit, a comprehensive REST API. So it's really, really easy for you to basically have a pure storage, or for that matter, like I want to give a shout out to our competitors, EMC, Dell, HPE, et cetera. They've become very, very active in the community. They have their own REST APIs, they have their own Cinder drivers, et cetera, where we're trying to basically integrate into the OpenStack framework and provide, compete at the storage layer by providing innovation at the storage layer. So what do we do for OpenStack? So we make it extremely simple to deploy OpenStack, right? So we like to call it zero-touch implementation for both iSCSI and Fiber Channel environments. We provide snapshots and consistency at a volume level. We provide replication support that came with the Mitaka release, and OpenStack quality of service implementation. So just want to deep dive into that a little. So what we're doing from a QoS perspective is it's a front end managed by KVM. It's linked to volume types. We provide a granular level of volume management per volume for parameters such as IOPS and bandwidth. Cross backend retyping, so you're not locked into a particular vendor. So sticking to the core OpenStack ethos. We've also seen that from our customers that they've got different deployment models, right? Some of them want to do everything yourself. So they have their total DIY shop, where others are like, I don't want to touch it, somebody else please manage the infrastructure. So we support, of course, the DIY guys by contributing to the community. So we have a number of people on the Pure team who are part of the Cinder committee, such as Patrick East. I highly recommend you go and talk to him at the show, at our booth. But what we're also trying to do is say that, okay, if you want an OpenStack appliance, for example, like Breakwater, we will integrate with Breakwater. We will integrate with the other appliance vendors to make OpenStack deployment from an appliance standpoint very easy. We also work with Cisco in their Cisco Metapod to say that, all right, so if it's a managed service that you want, but you want to run it on Pure because you see some value from our data services or something, well, you can use this deployment model. So right from DIY to managed services, we basically have a solution for customers. Just from a roadmap perspective, we've got a number of things in the works that we have planned. Most of these are driven through from what our customers are telling us and from what the community is telling us as well. So this is not the Bible. We've got this is a plan of record, but things change. So right now we've got a Horizon plugin. We've got Nova extensions. We've got multi-tenancy in the works, replication for Cinder consistency groups, fully automated replication failover and failback, synchronous replication, et cetera. All of these are in the works. We expect a bunch of these to be done by the end of the year. But if you guys have something specific that you're seeing in your environments that you'd like to be implemented, love to hear about it. As I mentioned, we're very active in the OpenStack community. We take this very, very seriously, right? So we have a number of people in the field. We have a number of engineering resources dedicated to it. One of the things that we're also investigating, it's a hot topic, is containers on OpenStack. how many customers are interested in that? And I was very happy to see Chris's survey results, which said 58% of customers are actually interested in running containers on OpenStack. So that's something we're going to deep dive into. But it's things like that which basically help us feed back into our engineering resources to build so that we can basically support customers better. So with that, short and sweet, thank you very much. We're going to be at OpenStack Summit in Barcelona. Would love for you to come by and stop by our booth to answer any questions.